Mhm. Yes. Once again, I do still have my voice. Hello guys, welcome, or if you've already seen my channel before, welcome back. I am the Philadelphia Whovian, and for this video, well, we're going to be, as it is mentioned in the title, discussing the 13th Doctor. And it's discussing the idea, the very concept of possibly the 13th Doctor being cast as a woman, rather than there is the argument out there that it's progressive for women. In fact, I'm going to discuss this idea that a potentiality, could it be regressive for women? And when I say regressive for women, it's a noun that has a lot of kind of variations to what it could pertain to. I mean, instead of pushing women forward, is it actually pushing women backwards, just not in the way you're used to being regarded as something that is pushing women backwards? There is that concept. So, what do I mean by pushing women backwards? I'm going to give you a list of explanations, but before I do, let's get into the concept of this is a subjective review. So, everything I'm saying, yes, I probably do believe it. I'm sorry, let's just be frank. I definitely do believe in these ideas, but I acknowledge they are subjective, and there's another perspective out there where you think the 13th Doctor being cast as a woman is progressive. That is perfectly fine, and it makes sense to me. I do not in any way, shape, or form see the negative of that concept. I understand why you think it is a positive. You have the right to definitely think from that perspective, and from your perspective, that is correct, because this is a subjective concept, and there's more than one room for truth. Your truth of the 13th Doctor being progressive and perfectly right for the Doctor to be cast as a woman is very good and very sound. But here's the thing, so is my argument, just from a different perspective. So what I'm going from with that is the idea of, if you're going to have a belief, you can't call yourself progressive if you're going to belittle or immediately berate those people who have a different belief than yours. I'm going to say things that are different than what you believe. I am not wrong. I simply think from a different perspective, and I ask of you, I'm not asking you, if you can't bother to watch the video, don't watch the video, don't comment. Only comment if you listen to the entire video and you understand that I have the right to think differently than you, and we both can respect each other. But if you're going to go on here and call me toxic, or any way give off implications that I'm wrong for how I feel, you are using this progressive platform you speak of to not allow someone else to have their own concept and their own opinions and their own beliefs because they don't fit in with yours. Therefore, in your excuse of being progressive, you actually are still committing censorship, committing a toxic nature yourself, and calling other people toxic for doing so, while also limiting other people's mindsets and creating cognitive dissonance in that person, where a person is afraid of agreeing with, or afraid of disagreeing with you because they're afraid of the outward consequences. Now there we go. I've covered myself. Everything I'm saying, you do not have to believe it, but you have to give me the right as my own to believe it and voice it as well. Taking my voice from me, or saying I don't have the right to think about this, will only show the hypocrisy of your own political platform. Do we understand each other? And there are things I'm going to ask of you as we're doing this video, or you're listening to this video, I'm going to ask of you, because I want you to be open to answering that question before you ever think to disregard my argument and answer your own. What I mean by that is, I'm going to pose you some concepts. I'm going to ask you to respond to those concepts as you're giving your own counter argument to show if you were even listening to begin with. There, now, covered myself, hopefully, enough. Okay, going with the video of how I think the casting of the 13th Doctor is possibly regressive. Regressive in the sense that it is actually, again, pushing women backwards, or showing a degenerate side, or a relapse, or not relapse, more of a going backwards. That's it, going backwards and not really going forwards. One, with the casting of the 13th Doctor as a woman. As I said before, sorry for being redundant with guys who have seen my previous videos, and when I say guys, you the audience, guys and girls, you know, the audience. My previous videos, but my problem with Doctor Who, when it came to casting different gender swaps, is that there wasn't a sense of neutrality. And that word's going to come a lot in my discussion, neutrality. I am a person who goes and sees theater every now and again, and I have seen men and women play different gender roles, where women were playing men. I was perfectly fine with this, not only because they were excellent in their performances, but because I also saw men playing women. So there was no sense of gender politics and gender superiority where women were erasing men from something and putting themselves in the place. No, for the sake of, yes, we're women and we're so strong because we're taking on male roles. No, we're doing it because in theater there was a genuine attempt for gender neutrality and as a result gender equality. Men were playing women at the same time women were playing men. Because of this, there was true gender neutrality where both genders were allowed to do the same thing. That was equality. If Doctor Who had done it that way, even though I enjoyed the idea of the Doctor being a male character, even though that is the case, I would have been less discomfort with the idea of the Doctor being a woman if there was true gender neutrality. If not only was I seeing men turning into women, but also every now and again women turning into men. I see this happening in both directions. That's not what I'm happening with Doctor Who today. What is happening with Doctor Who is I often see just men turning into women. So this is not gender neutrality. This is gender politics. And this is not equality. This is literally tipping the scales where one is higher than the other in a sense. And if you're thinking, well, because these characters were male for so long, having them be a woman now, that's neutrality in itself. No, it is not. Because you're saying the idea that of a male being cast consistently as a male is degenerate unto men. That's not fair to men. There's nothing wrong with a male actor playing a male character, and male actors keep coming in and playing that male character. That's the equivalent of there being nothing wrong with an actress or many actresses coming in and playing the same female character repeatedly. Nothing wrong with one gender repeatedly coming in and playing the gender of that character that they are playing. The Doctor was a male character. There's nothing evil about the fact that men consistently played him for a while. That's the same as a character like Cosette or Fantine or Eponine from Les Miserables consistently being cast by actresses. See what I'm getting at? So, for what Doctor Who did with the idea of the Doctor turning into a woman, an idea of consistently seeing men being turned into women, that's not gender equality happening here because both genders are not doing it at the same time. That is gender politics. One is going higher than the other. That is inequality to me personally. Mind you, you can disagree, but that's what it feels like to me personally. There's that. But here's something else I was afraid of talking about for a long time. I thought I was, didn't know how to phrase it well, but I'm going to be honest with you. I find the idea, potentially, of the 13th Doctor being cast by a woman as regressive because it shows the true insecurity, inferiority of the feminist mindset by certain feminists. Hear me out. Look at the 13th Doctor. We get a woman playing a male character, and then talking about how, yes, we women are finally arrived. This is exactly the quality we're talking about. This is women at our best. We have now made it. Your idea of a woman making it and giving the true female role model out there is you're a woman who is literally, idea of making it as a woman is you're playing a man who had a sex change into a woman. Which means your idea of being a strong woman was by you being a woman who was originally a man. That's not as progressive as you think. Really listen to it. Really stop and listen to it. In many ways, it's actually kind of regressive because it shows an insecurity of certain feminists where the only way they can feel confident is if they're taking on a character that was originally a man and turning him into a woman. Is that truly the confidence you want? Is that truly the message you think is the best message to give to women? That's why I personally, when it comes to Doctor Who and many other areas, I will always naturally side with women who were already females to begin with, because they didn't do this as a woman who was standing on top of the success and history of all these men and taking a male character and making it female. No, I enjoy more the women who did things as women who were women to begin with, and they built it up all on their own. They had the confidence to build it up on their own. That's why they say oftentimes this type of diversity, there's some people say this type of diversity is forced, and it's a sham. It is a sham, because instead of having the confidence in women to have the woman build her character up herself as a woman and go forward and start your own thing with it, your own show, you took what men were doing and just copied what the men were doing and just changed him into a woman. How is that really showing full confidence? Your idea of being the iconic female is you were actually a man first that made yourself into a female. That possibly shows an insecurity or a identity crisis in the feminist mindset, possibly. But also, why it shows an insecurity is when it comes to this sort of situation, your idea of being comfortable and feel like you finally made it as a woman is to take men and make them into your own image as a woman. Think about that. What does that really say about you? And you possibly missed the point, the entire point of the feminist movement. Because the feminist movement was not about removing men from a situation. No, it was about men accepting us in their own lives as well, and accepting the fact that just because we were different from them did not mean we were unequal. We were equal to them. We were just different than men were. We can be different from each other, but still be equal to each other. We should have the right to vote. We should have the right for, proper legislation, equal rights. We have the right, same privileges, same etc. and so forth. Men have the right to, have definitive characters in the workspace, so should we. Men get paid this salary, so we should have the right to be paid this salary. Men, have this type of privileges in the work environment, so should we. Men get roles in film, we should get roles in film and theater. If men can be strong in film and theater, we women can be strong in film and theater. But we're doing this in our own image, and men can do their things in their own image as long as we do it alongside each other as equals with each other. We are together. We are not one replacing the other or pushing the other one out. No, we're doing it together. That's what true feminism is. This, with the 13th Doctor, is let's erase the man from what he was always doing and put a woman in his place, but let's make the man up in our own image. Don't you see that feminism was actually against that concept? Because feminism was about turning to men and saying, just because we are not made as women, we are not in your own image, does not mean we are unequal to you. Just because men are not made in the female image does not mean he is unequal to us. He's equal to us. It's important he's allowed to keep his own image, as it's important for us to keep our own image. And if you need to make a man into a woman, make him up into your image to feel like you have finally succeeded at equality and at diversity, or at, yes, your rights. You have to wonder what your idea of your rights really are. The fact that you have to erase a man and make him in your own image, that shows a vanity. That shows a deep problem potentially within you that's a little scary, because that's the same problem men had when they were not giving us women equality. They didn't see because we were not in their image, we were still equal to them. But with men, it goes the same both ways. If we have to make a man up in our own image to connect to him, we missed the whole point of feminism. Feminism was about still connecting to men even though they were not in our image, and them connecting to us even though we were not in their image. It's about accepting difference, not making it the same as you. For us to not see the possibilities that what we are doing is making sameness and forcing the Doctor to adapt to our sameness, making him up in our own image, that possibly was not fair because we are reducing him to our petty squabbles. There is that as well. So the idea, again, of the female being regressive in the sense because you have to make the man in your own image to feel like you can identify with him. No. Men can identify with us women even though we are not in his image. We women should be able to identify with men. We women, I'll repeat that, should be able to identify with men even though they are not in our image. Do you see the point? Now, I'm going to give you some quotes from a book I've been reading called Doctor Who, The Unfolding Text. It's a big book. There's a lot going on here for it. But I'm going to give you some quotes about when it comes to the Doctor. Okay. Now, when it comes to talk about the notion of cultural leadership in BBC. Facing a conscientiously sectionalized audience with often contradictory demands, the BBC now appealed to a professional rather than moral image. The BBC was now like a theater in the sense that to be like a theater in the middle of a town, and the broadcasters are part of the theater staff. And it's the job of that staff to find from society a whole selection of voices and to enable those voices to be heard in that theater. But the BBC must therefore air the voices of left and right, but must not be seen to stand for any of these voices. And its new champions of institutional neutrality are the presenters with whom audiences are expected to identify. Now here we go again. Whereas the romantic inflection of the Doctor's persona has varied in its force over the years, he has consistently adapted exactly the liberal populist role in criticizing sectionalist forces of left and right, and in rebuking the official and the powerful, whether in big business, the military, government, or militant unions. Okay, so when it comes to the idea of the sort of like the curse of Paladin, which is political, and the monster Paladin, here's what Terrence Dick says. We weren't making a direct comment on the minor strike that was happening in real life. We couldn't because it wasn't our place to. But obviously that kind of issue was in the air. We are all well aware now that what happens when an advanced race meets a primitive race is not always to the benefit of the primitives. So you have got the conflict of the different factions. It's simply a matter of realism. Okay. Drama is concerned with conflict between people, and if it becomes mechanical, and it's only a plot situation with cardboard characters, the whole thing falls down. That's what Barry Letts said. Very good quote there. And we'll continue. When it comes to the idea of liberal, left, and right, so to be extreme is automatically to put oneself in an almost indefensible position, in my opinion. Terrence Dicks, while preferring to call his position realist rather than political, also supported the creative BBC positions of standing between. There we go. So the views on realism as a neutral presenter. The idea of the Doctor being neutral. And as a space and time character, he was new in competitive and rating terms, yes it is, and like the BBC itself, the Doctor could step back. The tragic drama of conflict, as with the BBC presenters, the position could allow safe entry into the dangerously sectionalized world of the social and political, which is one reason perhaps for Doctor Who being taken as a series program. Another reason was that the genre of science fiction itself provided an appropriately conventional format for its BBC debate of democratic liberalism and cultural perspectivism. And I wrote here, this is my words now, but I wrote here, we have now made the Doctor of political background, thus removing him from the realistic spot and placing him into the political platform. The Doctor was supposed to be that person above our petty squabbles. By making him into a woman, you could easily argue we took him down from his neutral place of stepping back and forced him to take a side with our petty gender wars. And we made him the battleground to our gender wars. And I'm not entirely sure it was fair to the Doctor himself that we did that to him. So that idea of the politics, dragging the Doctor potentially down to a place he shouldn't have had to be. So this is part 1 of my video. I'll do part 2 later on. Again, I'll see you guys very soon. Bye, guys. Really, I promise I'll see you soon. Bye.